My family secretly called me the lonely cash machine while I quietly paid off my brother's massive debts for years. What they didn't know is that my new fiancé overheard their cruel jokes, and then they came crawling back, begging for one last bailout. You know that gut-wrenching feeling when you finally see the true colors of the people you love most, and it's uglier than anything you could have imagined? For me, that moment arrived with a whisper, an overheard insult that echoed years of silent sacrifice, and suddenly, my fairy tale about family crumbled into dust. I was only 20 for the first time I bailed my brother, Ishmael, out of a gambling debt. Back then, I still believed in the magic of family, in unconditional love. 10 years later, I stood in my kitchen, staring at my depleted savings account, the stark reminder of just how reliable I'd been. My mother's voice crackled through the phone, the familiar plea twisting a knife in my gut. "Eva, sweetie, you know Ishmael wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I'm Eva, you see. The reliable one. The successful one. The one they call when the walls are closing in." And tonight, those walls felt like they were closing in on me. "Mom, I just covered his rent last month," I sighed, pinching the bridge of my nose, "and his car payment the month before that." "But this is different," she insisted. "He's in real trouble this time." Of course, it was different. It was always different. The worst part? Just 2 hours earlier, I'd been at our traditional Sunday dinner, watching them all laugh, oblivious to the weight I carried. My sister, Molina, has a way of making everything sound light, even when she's twisting the knife. "Poor Eva," she'd purred, raising her wine glass. "All work and no play. At least your bank account keeps you warm at night." Everyone had laughed. Even Summer, my youngest sister, who usually stayed out of it. I'd forced a smile, as always, and excused myself to the bathroom. On my way back, I'd paused, an old habit, just outside the dining room. "The family cash machine," Molina had whispered, followed by more cruel laughter. "Thank God she's too lonely to spend it on anything else." The words hit me like a physical blow, a cold, hard truth spoken with such casual disdain. Now, hours later, Mom was still talking. "It's just 9,000 this time, sweetheart. Ishmael says this Nico person isn't very patient." My phone buzzed. Speak of the devil. A text from Nico: "Tell your brother he's got 48 hours, Mom, I have to go," I interrupted, hanging up before she could protest. I slid down against the kitchen cabinet, the cold tile floor a harsh comfort. My phone buzzed again. "Ishmael. *sis, please. I know I messed up, but this guy, Nico, he's not like the others. He's talking about breaking things. Important things. Like bones, *. I closed my eyes, counted to 10. When I opened them, another text. "Alina, *, stop being dramatic and help him. What else are you saving for anyway? *, what was I saving for? Maybe a life. Maybe a future. Maybe the dream of not being everyone's emergency fund." My phone rang again. This time, it was my father. A rare occurrence that meant things were truly serious. Dad only called when he wanted to remind me about family duty. "Eva," his voice was gruff, authoritative. "Your mother's crying. Is that what you want?" "Dad, family takes care of family. You know this." I did know this. I'd known it since I was 12 and started saving my allowance to buy summer school supplies because Dad was between jobs. I'd known it every time Molina needed help with rent. Every time Ishmael got in too deep. Every time Mom's credit cards maxed out. Then, the doorbell rang, making me jump. Through the peephole, I saw Ishmael, disheveled and desperate. His eyes were red, his hands shaking as he rang again. "Eva, please," he called through the door. "I can hear you in there. Just help me figure this out." I stood perfectly still, barely breathing. On my phone, the banking app was still open, displaying my savings account. 10 years. 10 years of being the responsible one, of living below my means, of saying no to vacations and new clothes and any kind of life outside of work. All so I could be there when they needed me. The doorbell rang again, and again, and again. My phone lit up with a final text from Nico, *time's running out. Hope your brother's got a good sister, *. I slid down the wall again, my chest tight with an emotion I couldn't quite name. Maybe it was anger. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was the crushing realization that fairy tales about family are just that, fairy tales. Tomorrow, I knew, I'd probably give in. I'd transfer the money, listen to their thanks, watch them forget about it by next Sunday's dinner. But right now, sitting here in my dark apartment while my brother rang the doorbell and my phone lit up with desperate pleas, I made myself a solemn promise. This would be the last time. I'd made that promise before, of course. But something felt different tonight. Maybe it was the echo of Melina's words, family cash machine. Or maybe it was just that I was finally tired enough to mean it. The doorbell stopped ringing. In the sudden silence, I heard Ishmael's footsteps retreating down the hallway. My phone buzzed one final time, a reminder about tomorrow's meeting with a potential client. Life goes on. At least it does for everyone else. 3 weeks after the Nico incident, I was standing in a crowded tech conference, pretending to be interested in cloud computing solutions. That's when I heard someone chuckle behind me. The look on your face suggests you'd rather be anywhere else. I turned to find a tall man in a well-fitted suit, his eyes crinkling with amusement. His name tag read, Michael, Architecture Solutions Lead. That obvious? I managed a small smile. Only to fellow sufferers, he said. I'm Michael. Want to escape to the coffee station? Over mediocre conference coffee, Michael told me about his work designing sustainable buildings. And for the first time in weeks, I felt myself relaxing. He had this way of listening that made you feel truly heard. So, Eva, he said, what brings you to this thrilling event? Looking for new project management software for my team, I replied, though honestly, I'm mostly hiding from my phone. Bad breakup? He asked gently. I laughed, a little too loudly. Bad family. They're complicated, aren't they all? He paused, then added, hey, there's this amazing Italian place around the corner. Their pasta could make you forget any family drama. What do you say? I should have said no. I had 3 missed calls from Ishmael and a text from Mom about urgent family matters. But Michael's smile was genuine, and for once, I wanted something for myself. Lead the way. The restaurant was small and warm, with red checkered tablecloths and candles. Michael ordered wine and talked about his sister, Stacy, who sounded refreshingly normal. She's actually having a barbecue this weekend, he said. Would you like to come? My phone buzzed. Melina, Mom's crying because you won't answer. Hope you're proud of yourself, I turned my phone face down. I'd love to. The barbecue was nothing like my family gatherings. Stacy greeted me with a genuine hug. Her kids ran around playing tag instead of asking for money, and nobody made passive-aggressive comments about my life choices. So, you're the famous Eva, Stacy said, handing me a beer. Michael hasn't shut up about you all week. Stacy. Michael groaned, but he was smiling. What? It's cute. You're like a teenager with a crush. As weeks turned into months, Michael became my sanctuary. We spent weekends exploring the city, finding hidden architectural gems, and talking about everything and nothing. He told me about losing his father young, about building his company from scratch. I told him about my work, my dreams of traveling, my love of photography. But I didn't tell him about the money, about being the family ATM, about the growing stack of urgent texts I'd been ignoring. 6 months in, Michael took me to dinner at that same Italian restaurant where we had our first date. Over tiramisu, he looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness. Move in with me, he said. My place is closer to your office, and I hate waking up without you. My phone vibrated. Mom again. Asterisk Ishmael needs 9,000 by Friday or he's in serious trouble. This is urgent, Eva. Asterisk I looked at Michael, kind, successful, drama-free Michael, and felt shame burn in my chest. He deserved to know what he was getting into. There's something I need to tell you first, I started, but he cut me off. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together. That's what partners do. Partners, the word made my throat tight. I need you to know that my family is complicated. He reached across the table, took my hand. Eva, I love you. Complicated family and all. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Summer, asterisk Eva, please. He really messed up this time, asterisk Michael squeezed my hand. Everything okay? I should have told him. About the money, the manipulation, the endless demands, about how my savings account was a fraction of what it should be because I couldn't say no to them. Instead, I squeezed back and said, everything's perfect. Later that night, lying in bed at Michael's place, our place now, I suppose, I stared at the ceiling while he slept peacefully beside me. My phone lit up one last time. Mom, asterisk if you don't help your brother, whatever happens is on your hands. I raised you better than this, asterisk I turned off my phone completely, curled into Michael's warmth, and tried to believe that I deserved this happiness, that I could have this new life without the crushing weight of my family's expectations. But as I drifted off to sleep, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. Because that's the thing about family secrets. They never stay buried forever, and mine were about to come crashing down around me. Michael proposed on a misty morning by the lake, down on one knee, with a vintage ring that belonged to his grandmother. It was perfect. Simple, sincere, just like him. I said yes through tears, finally believing I deserved this happiness. We should tell your family in person, he said later as we were driving home. Have them over for dinner. My stomach tightened, but I nodded. They'll want to celebrate. They arrived at our apartment that evening in unusually high spirits. Even Melina was beaming, pulling me into a tight hug. Look at you, she gushed, examining my ring. Finally joining the grown-up world. Mom couldn't stop crying, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. My baby girl getting married to such a successful man. I caught the emphasis on successful, but forced a smile. Michael was in the kitchen preparing his signature lasagna while I poured wine and tried to keep the conversation light. Eva, you're glowing, Melina said, touching my cheek. Marriage suits you already. And Michael? Well, you certainly picked a winner. Summer nodded enthusiastically. His place is gorgeous. You're so lucky, sis. The evening flowed surprisingly well. No one mentioned money or Ishmael's troubles. Even Dad, who showed up late, seemed genuinely happy for me. During dessert, my phone rang. It was work. Sorry, I said, standing. I have to take this. It's about the Singapore project. I stepped into the hallway, leaving everyone chatting over tiramisu. The call was quick, just a scheduling issue. But as I was heading back, I heard voices from the dining room. I paused. An old habit, from years of eavesdropping to gauge my family's true feelings. It's about time she landed someone wealthy, Melina was saying, her voice low but clear. God knows she's been hoarding her money long enough. Shoo, Mom whispered, but she was laughing. You're right. Maybe now she'll stop being so stingy with family. Please, Melina snorted. Now that she's got a rich fiancé, tapping her will be so much easier. Michael seems like the type who'd want to help family. We should wait though, Mom added. Let them get married first. Then we can bring up Ishmael's situation. I felt sick. My hands were shaking. I wanted to burst in, to confront them. But then I heard movement. Michael appeared in the hallway, his face unreadable. How long had he been standing there? Our eyes met. He heard everything. I opened my mouth, but he shook his head slightly and walked past me back to the dining room. His voice was perfectly normal as he offered everyone coffee, but I could feel the shift in him. The air around us had changed. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. My family left with hugs and kisses. Mom was already talking about wedding venues and guest lists. Melina squeezed my arm and whispered, "We'll go dress shopping soon, little sister." After they were gone, Michael and I cleaned up in silence. I was waiting for him to speak, to ask questions, to judge me. Instead, he just loaded the dishwasher, his movements mechanical. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. "Michael, how long?" he asked quietly, not looking at me. "How long have they been using you like this?" "I should have told you." "Yes." He turned, and his eyes were sad. "You should have." I was ashamed, I whispered. "I didn't want you to see." "To know." "To know what?" "That your family treats you like an ATM? That they're already planning how to use our marriage for money?" Tears spilled down my cheeks. "I'm sorry." He crossed the kitchen and pulled me into his arms. "Don't apologize. You're not the one who should be sorry." "I thought tonight would be different," I said into his chest. "They seemed so happy." "They were happy," he said grimly. "Happy about what they think they can get from us." I pulled back, wiping my eyes. "What do we do?" "First, you tell me everything." "No more secrets, Eva. If we're getting married, I need to know what I'm walking into." So, I told him. About the years of bailouts and guilt trips, about Ishmael's gambling and Mom's emotional manipulation, about Melina's subtle digs and Dad's selective appearances when money was involved. When I finished, Michael was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "You know this has to stop." "I know." And for the first time, I truly did know. Hearing them plot to use my marriage, to use Michael, it was different somehow. Worse. "We'll figure it out together," he said, kissing my forehead. "But Eva, no more enabling. No more sacrificing yourself for people who don't appreciate you." I nodded, but my phone was already buzzing with a new message. "Ishmael, congratulations, sis. Since you're celebrating, any chance you could help me out with a small problem? I stared at the message, my finger hovering over the reply button. Old habits die hard. The call came at 3 a.m., 1 week after the engagement dinner. My phone vibrated against the nightstand. Mom's name flashing on the screen. "Eva." Her voice was shrill with panic. "You need to come over right now. Nico's here with 2 men. They're threatening Ishmael." Michael stirred beside me. "What's wrong?" I was already pulling on clothes. "My brother's in trouble. Real trouble this time. I'm coming with you." When we arrived at Mom's house, 3 menacing men were in the living room. Nico, looking dangerous in his expensive suit, and 2 others who seemed more like bouncers than debt collectors. Ishmael sat on the couch, head in his hands. Mom was pacing, and Dad, who must have been called too, stood by the window, jaw clenched. Well, Nico said, smiling without warmth. "The successful sister arrives." "How much?" I asked, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. 50,000. The room went quiet. Even Mom stopped pacing. "That's impossible," I said. "Last month it was 9,000. Interest adds up," Nico shrugged. "Plus the new loans. Your brother's been busy." I turned to Ishmael. "New loans?" He wouldn't look at me. I thought I could win it back. "You have 24 hours, Nico said, checking his watch. "Or we start breaking things. Starting with your brother's fingers." After they left, the screaming started. You have to help him. Mom grabbed my arm. He's your brother. I don't have that kind of money anymore, I said, pulling away. I've given him everything. What about Michael? Dad suggested, speaking for the first time. Surely your fiancé could. Don't. Michael's voice cut through the room like ice. Don't even finish that sentence. Melina appeared in the doorway. Someone must have called her too. Eva, don't be selfish. This is family. Selfish? I laughed, and it sounded slightly hysterical. Do you want to know how much money I've given this family? Should I show you the spreadsheet? You're keeping spreadsheets? Mom looked horrified, like we were some kind of business transaction. Of course I am. I pulled out my phone, opened the file I'd been maintaining for years. $200,000, Mom. That's how much I've given you all over the past decade. My entire savings, my retirement fund, everything. The room went silent again. But you make good money, Summer said from her corner. And now with Michael, stop it. Michael stepped forward. Eva's not your personal bank anymore, and I'm certainly not going to be. We're trying to save your brother's life. Mom shrieked. No, I said quietly, my voice surprisingly firm. You're trying to save him from consequences again. Ishmael finally looked up. His eyes were red. Sis, please. They're serious this time. They're always serious, I said. And I'm always there to fix it. But not anymore. Then you're signing his death warrant. Dad said dramatically. No, I retorted, my voice rising with years of suppressed anger. You all did that. Every time you enabled him, every time you called me instead of getting him help, every time you chose the easy way out. Mom started crying. Melina moved to comfort her, shooting me a venomous look. There are other options, Michael said calmly. Bankruptcy, gambling addiction programs, police protection. Police? Ishmael jumped up. Are you crazy? These aren't guys you call the cops on. Then I guess you should have thought of that before borrowing from them. My phone buzzed. A text from Nico. TikTok, I'm done, I announced, walking toward the door. Figure it out yourselves. Eva. Mom's voice broke. You can't leave your brother like this. I turned back one last time. Watch me. In the car, my hands were shaking so badly I couldn't get the key in the ignition. Michael gently took them. You did the right thing. Did I? What if they really hurt him? Then that's on him and them, not you. My phone kept lighting up with messages. Melina calling me heartless. Mom saying she didn't raise me to be so cruel. Dad invoking family duty. Summer sending sad face emojis. I turned off my phone. They'll never forgive me for this, I whispered. Michael started the car. Maybe that's not a bad thing. As we drove home, I thought about all the times I'd saved them. All the times I'd sacrificed my own future for theirs. All the times they'd taken and taken and taken. What happens now? I asked. Now? Michael took my hand. Now you start living for yourself. But we both knew it wouldn't be that simple, because somewhere in the city, a clock was ticking down on my brother's debt. And for the first time in his life, his safety net wasn't going to catch him. Part of me hoped he fell hard enough to finally learn how to save himself. The rest of me was terrified he wouldn't survive the landing. I spent 3 days gathering evidence, bank statements, transfer records, text messages, emails. Every desperate plea, every guilt trip, every manipulation, carefully documented. Michael helped me organize it all into a presentation, like we were preparing for a business meeting instead of a family execution. Are you sure about this? He asked as I set up the Zoom call. They want to talk, I replied, my voice cold and firm. Let's talk. One by one, their faces appeared on screen. Mom, looking martyred. Dad, stern and disapproving. Melina, barely concealing her rage. Summer, uncomfortable but present. And Ishmael, sporting a black eye, Nico's warning shot, presumably. Finally, Mom said, we've been trying to reach you for days. I know. I shared my screen, showing the first spreadsheet. Let's talk about why. What is this? Melina squinted at the screen. This is every dollar I've given this family over the past 10 years, I stated, clicking through to the next slide. Organized by date, amount, and recipient. Here's Ishmael's gambling debts. Notice the pattern, they get bigger every time. Eva, Dad warned. This is unnecessary. Oh, I think it's very necessary. Next slide. Here's Melina's emergencies, rent, car payments. That boutique business that failed because you spent the startup money on a vacation. Melina's face flushed. That's private. Nothing in this family is private. You made sure of that when you started plotting how to use my engagement to get more money. Mom gasped. We never, I heard you, Michael spoke up for the first time. At the engagement dinner. Every word. Silence fell. I continued through the slides, methodically exposing every loan, every manipulation, every broken promise to pay back just this once. $200,000, I said finally. That's what I've given you. My entire savings, my future, my security. We're family. Mom pleaded. Family helps family. No, Mom. Family supports each other. Family builds each other up. Family doesn't treat one member like an ATM while mocking them behind their back. Is that what this is about? Melina sneered. Your feelings got hurt? This is about consequences. Ishmael needs rehab, not another bailout. You need to learn to live within your means. And Mom, you need to stop enabling everyone's worst instincts. Please, Ishmael spoke up, touching his black eye. They're going to kill me. There are programs, Michael said. Gambling addiction support groups, debt counseling, witness protection if necessary. We've researched them all. We don't need programs. Dad scoffed. We need you to step up and help your brother. No, the word felt like freedom. We're done. Done? Mom's voice rose. What does that mean? Done. It means I'm cutting you all off. No more money. No more rescues. No more guilt trips. You can't do this. Melina shouted. We're your family. Not anymore. Mom started crying. Dad began lecturing about duty. Melina screamed about betrayal. I let them. Their words had no power anymore. I've transferred all the documentation to a lawyer, I continued calmly. If any of you try to contact me or Michael for money again, she'll file harassment charges. You'd send your own brother to jail? Summer asked, finally speaking, her voice trembling. No. I'm letting him face the consequences of his actions. There's a difference. You bitch. Melina spat. You think you're better than us? No, I said, looking her dead in the eye. I think I'm done being worse than I am because of you. Ishmael started begging. Mom's cries got louder. Dad quoted scripture about family loyalty. I waited until they ran out of steam. I'm sending each of you a final email with resources for financial counseling and addiction support. What you do with it is up to you. But this, I gestured at the screen, this is the last time we'll speak. You'll regret this, Mom said, her tears suddenly dry. When you need us, I haven't needed you in years, Mom. I just wanted you. There's a difference. I ended the call mid-protest. The silence that followed felt like a thunderclap. Michael pulled me close as I started shaking. You did it. I did it, my voice broke. Oh God, I really did it. My phone started buzzing immediately. Texts, calls, emails. I blocked each number methodically, like pulling weeds from a garden. What now? I asked. Now we change our numbers. Move if we have to. Start fresh. They'll never forgive me. No, he agreed. But maybe someday you'll forgive yourself for letting them go. I looked at my phone one last time before turning it off completely. There was a final text from Mom, * you'll always be our cash machine, Eva. Don't forget that, * I deleted it, along with every other trace of them. Sometimes burning bridges isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's about survival. The fallout came in waves. First, the social media assault. Melina led the charge with vague Facebook posts about toxic family members and money-changing people. Mom joined in with prayer requests for lost daughters who've forgotten their roots. I deleted my accounts. Then came the flying monkeys, distant relatives, family friends, even my old high school teacher. All reaching out to understand what's going on. Your mother's heartbroken, my aunt said over the phone. She's not eating. I'm sure she told you that, I replied, then blocked her number. Michael's sister, Stacy, became my unexpected ally. They're trying to add me on Facebook, she told me over coffee. I blocked them all. The nerve of these people. 3 weeks after the Zoom call, Summer showed up at my office. She was the only one who knew where I worked. Just hear me out, she said, sliding into the chair across from my desk. Things are bad, Eva. Really bad. I'm not giving anyone money. It's not about money. Well, not directly. She fidgeted with her sleeve. Ishmael's missing. Mom's having panic attacks. Dad's drinking again. And she looked genuinely shocked. They're falling apart. They've been falling apart for years, Summer. I just stopped holding the pieces together. How can you be so cold? How can you still be so blind? She left in tears. I went back to work, ignoring the trembling in my hands. That night, Michael found me on our balcony, staring at nothing. Rough day? Summer came by. He sat beside me. Want to talk about it? Want to get married next month instead of waiting? He blinked. That's quite a change of subject. I don't want them to have time to plan anything. No big ceremony, no family drama, just us, Stacy, and a justice of the peace. Okay, he said simply. Let's do it. But the universe had other plans. Walking home from dinner a week later, I saw Ishmael sitting on our building steps. He looked terrible, unwashed, unshaven, desperate. Don't run, he called out as I froze. Please, Eva, 5 minutes. Michael stepped forward protectively, but I touched his arm. Wait here. I approached my brother, staying out of reach. You look awful. Yeah, well, being beaten by loan sharks will do that. He tried to smile, but his split lip made it a grimace. I'm not here for money. Then why are you here? To say you were right about everything. He ran a shaking hand through his dirty hair. I hit rock bottom, sis. Lost everything. Even pawned Mom's jewelry. Rehab's still an option. I know. That's actually why I came. He pulled out a crumpled paper. The resource list you sent. This place you recommended. They have a scholarship program. I applied. Good. They accepted me. His voice cracked. I start tomorrow. 90 days inpatient. Something in my chest loosened slightly. I'm glad. I'm not asking you to forgive me, or trust me, or even talk to me again. He stood slowly, wincing. I just wanted you to know you were right to cut us off. To cut me off. Maybe if you'd done it sooner, maybe, I agreed. Anyway, I should go. Got a bus to catch. He took a step, stumbled slightly. Be happy, Eva. You deserve it. I watched him limp away, fighting the urge to help, to give him bus fare, to fall back into old patterns. Michael came up beside me. You okay? No, I admitted, but I knew, but I will be. That night, I got an email from Summer, Ishmael's going to rehab. Mom's furious. Says he's abandoning the family just like you did. I think maybe you were both right to leave. I didn't reply, but I didn't delete it either. The next morning, Melina posted another cryptic status, blood isn't always thicker than water. Sometimes it's just what drowns you. Mom commented, pray for our lost sheep to find their way home. I closed my laptop and turned to Michael. Let's go to City Hall today. Right now. Now? Now. Before I change my mind, before they find a way to make this about them, too. He studied my face, then nodded. I'll call Stacy. 2 hours later, we were married. No white dress, no flowers, no family drama, just us, Stacy as our witness, and promises we intended to keep. As we signed the marriage certificate, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Mom, using Dad's phone, * you'll regret shutting us out. Family is forever *. I showed Michael, who took the phone and blocked the number. Family is what we choose, he said, kissing me. And we choose each other. For the first time since this all began, I truly believed that's enough. 6 months into my marriage, karma arrived like a wrecking ball. The news came through Summer, who'd taken to sending me brief, factual updates every few weeks. Ishmael got arrested, her text read. * not for gambling. Fraud. He was running some kind of Ponzi scheme with Nico. Melina co-signed for loans. Mom and Dad put up their house as collateral. Everything's falling apart. * I was in the kitchen with Michael when I read it. My hands didn't shake anymore when family news arrived. Want to know the funny part? I showed him the text. I saw this coming years ago. Told them he was getting into something illegal. They called me paranoid. The story unfolded over the next few days through local news and Summer's updates. Ishmael had been running an investment scam, promising desperate gamblers huge returns. Melina had helped him set up the fake companies, thinking she'd get rich quick. Mom and Dad had vouched for him to their friends, bringing in more victims. Now Ishmael was facing serious prison time. Melina's credit was destroyed. Mom and Dad were losing their house. The same house I grew up in, where family photos still hung on walls that would soon belong to someone else. Your mother's asking for your address, Summer texted. Says she needs to talk to you in person. No, I replied simply. * she's crying a lot. Says you're their only hope. * I blocked Summer's number. It hurt, but it was time. She made her choice by staying their messenger. That evening, Michael and I visited a lakeside property we'd been eyeing. It was peaceful here. Far from the city, far from them. We could make this our home, he said, watching me stare at the water. Fresh start. My phone buzzed. Melina, using a new number, * they're charging me as a co-conspirator. I could go to jail. Please, Eva. I know we hurt you, but I'm your sister. * I deleted it without responding. The next day, I received a courier package at work. Inside was a handwritten letter from Mom. Eva, your father and I will be homeless in 3 weeks. The bank is taking everything. We raised you better than to abandon family in their darkest hour. Whatever issues you have with us, surely you can't want this for your parents. We need $200,000 to save the house. Michael makes good money. This would be nothing to him. Don't let your stubbornness destroy your family. Remember who changed your diapers, who fed you, who gave you life. Help us, Mom. I took the letter home and burned it in our fireplace, watching the guilt-laden words turn to ash. The next morning, the local paper ran a story about Ishmael's arrest. There was a quote from one of his victims, an elderly woman who lost her retirement savings. My stomach turned when I recognized the name. She was our neighbor when I was growing up. Used to bake cookies for us kids. Karma, Michael said when I showed him. They preyed on their own community. They always did, I replied. I was just the first victim. Days passed. More news broke. More victims came forward. Molina got arrested. Mom and Dad faced lawsuits from friends they convinced to invest. Their world was crumbling. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't there to catch the pieces. Instead, I was signing papers on the lake house, planning renovations, living. Your sister Molina took a plea deal, our lawyer informed us. She's testifying against Ishmael. 5 years instead of 20. Family loyalty at its finest, Michael commented dryly. That night, I dreamed of drowning in bills. Of Ishmael's desperate face, of Mom's tears. I woke up gasping. Michael held me. Want to talk about it? No, I said. I want to pack. We spent the weekend moving into our lake house. It was therapeutic. Arranging furniture, hanging art, making plans. No family photos on these walls. No guilt in these rooms. As we were unpacking, I found a box of old cards and letters. Birthday wishes from Mom. Christmas cards from Molina. Notes from Ishmael promising to pay me back. A lifetime of manipulation disguised as love. I took the box to the dock and dropped it into the lake. The water swallowed it without a ripple. My phone lit up one last time. A news alert. Ishmael's sentencing is tomorrow. Mom and Dad's house goes up for auction next week. Molina's starting her prison term soon. I deleted the alert and turned off my phone. You okay? Michael asked from the doorway. I looked out at the peaceful lake, at our new beginning, at the life we were building without their chaos. Yes, I said. And for the first time, it wasn't a lie. Sometimes the best revenge isn't action, it's absence. The morning sun glinted off the lake as I sat at my desk, fingers hovering over my keyboard. Michael was still asleep upstairs, and the house was quiet except for the gentle lapping of waves against our dock. I opened a new document and started typing. Dear younger Eva, I'm writing this letter not to send, but to finally set you free. The doorbell interrupted my thoughts. Through the security camera, I saw Summer standing on our porch, looking nervous but determined. I considered not answering, but something in her posture made me open the door. Before you slam the door, she said quickly, her voice small. I'm not here as their messenger. I'm here for me. I left the door open, but didn't invite her in. Talk. I left them too. She hugged herself, looking small. After seeing what they did to that sweet old lady from our street, I couldn't anymore. Mom tried to convince me to invest my savings in Ishmael's scheme. That's when I knew you were right all along. Come in, I said finally. Coffee. In the kitchen, Summer told me everything. How Molina had been writing angry letters from prison, blaming everyone but herself. How Mom and Dad were living in a cheap motel, still insisting they did nothing wrong. How Ishmael got 20 years. They're talking about appealing to you again, she admitted. They think enough time has passed that maybe I know. That's partly why I'm here. She pulled out some papers. I need your help with something. But not money. I'm going back to school, starting over. Would you be my reference? You're the only successful person I know who got there honestly. I studied my younger sister's face. There was something different there. A clarity that wasn't there before. Okay, I said. But first, I need you to read something. I showed her my laptop screen, the letter I was writing. Asterisk, dear younger Eva, I'm sorry I let them dim your light for so long. I'm sorry I taught you that love means emptying yourself to fill others. I'm sorry I made you believe that family obligations were more important than your own dreams. But I'm not sorry anymore, asterisk. Summer read silently, tears rolling down her cheeks. When she finished, she looked up. Can I add something? I nodded. She typed. Asterisk, dear younger Summer, I'm sorry I watched them drain you dry and said nothing. I'm sorry I was a coward. But I'm learning from your strength, asterisk. We spent the morning writing letters to our younger selves, letting out years of suppressed truth. When Michael came downstairs, he found us both crying and laughing over coffee. Everything okay? He asked cautiously. Getting there, I said. Summer stayed for lunch. We talked about her plans for school, about healing, about building a life that was truly ours. She was different now, harder in some ways, but clearer, like me. After she left, I finished my letter. Asterisk, you'll learn that real love doesn't demand your self-destruction. You'll learn that family isn't about blood or obligation. It's about choice and respect. You'll learn that sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away. And one day, you'll sit in a beautiful house by a lake, with a husband who loves you and a sister who finally understands. And you'll realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're living. Love, the Eva who finally chose herself, asterisk. I printed the letter and added one more thing, my updated will. Michael and I had discussed this at length. Our future children, if we had them, would inherit most of our estate. The rest went to a new foundation we were establishing, the Forward Fund, helping people escape financial abuse from family members. Not a penny went to my parents or older siblings. That's the last piece, I told Michael as I signed the documents. No more loose ends. He kissed my forehead. Proud of you. My phone buzzed. A text from Summer, asterisk. Thank you for today. For everything. For showing me there's another way, asterisk. Outside, the lake sparkled in the afternoon sun. I thought about Mom and Dad in their motel room. About Melina in her prison cell. About Ishmael facing 2 decades behind bars. I thought about karma, and justice, and peace. I closed my laptop, took Michael's hand, and walked out to our dock. The water was calm, reflecting the sky like a mirror. In its surface, I saw my reflection. Cleared, strong, free. Sometimes revenge isn't about making others hurt. Sometimes it's about making yourself whole. Sometimes it's about writing a new story. One where you're not the victim or the savior or the cash machine, just yourself. Finally, completely yourself. And that's enough.